this podcast.
Greetings, dear listeners, and today we have a lot of nice things related to horror for you guys, because, first of all, this is a world now of true horror. Do you want to know why?
Yeah.
Now cars have microtransactions to access features that, normally would exist in a default car.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a world of true horror, and I thought it was very appropriate that we then talk about two nice horror games that you and I played.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the Humanist Podcast, everybody. A little bit of a delay there, but you know where you're at. So, I'm your host for today, Steph, and of course with me, my good co-host, Nankia.
Hello.
Yep, and then we're gonna try something a little bit different today. So we're gonna do sort of especially if you're on YouTube, I guess, we're gonna try to make this a mix between a Let's Play and a podcast, or well, a video game showcase, I guess, because we're gonna actually have footage that we captured from these games playing in the background. It's only gonna be from the first hour or two from each game, so it's not gonna be any major spoilers. And you're gonna see us horribly fail and walk backwards into terrible situations and other things. So let us know if this is a format that works out for you. Try to spice things up a little. Without further ado, let's jump right into World of Horror.
Yeah. What a nice surprise this game was for me.
Yeah.
Really original and just overall a good experience.
Yeah, this game needs more attention, I feel. Because it has good reviews on Steam and everything, but it's not like... I mean, I'm a horror fan, and I only discovered this game, I don't know, a few days before we started playing it.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because this game is made by one person, I think, who also has a day job, so he's making this, on his free time.
Wow.
Yeah. But this game blew my mind. It was such a breath of fresh air. It was, like you said, very creative. And I loved the art style about it. The music was dope. And they even managed to cram in, for like that kind of, old style point and click adventure, they managed to cram quite a few creative surprises in there as well.
Yeah.
But, do you want to tell a little bit about the gameplay?
Yeah, it's I guess it's very on rails, if you could say that, for a sort of a point and click, because you don't really, click around on a map or something. You're limited to buttons.
Yeah, true.
Which I enjoyed. I think the clicking where you want to walk can cause a lot of confusion and being stuck, and
Yeah.
So it's sort of a investigation game, I would say. You're in a town in Japan in the 80s.
Shiokawa,
Yeah.
I think it was called.
With a lot of crazy stuff happening.
Yeah.
There are Lovecraftian horror looming.
You always like to see that.
Yeah, classic Japanese horror characters. And you're the run-of-the-mill teen, trying to investigate whatever's happening. You get to choose from a few scenarios, and you're sort of limited to your health and sanity. And at least I felt so for the first chapter we played. That was sort of our time frame to complete the investigation.
Yeah,
maybe
for
because
sure.
we sucked, but
Well, you take some damage constantly in that game.
yeah. So it's you choose to investigate parts of where you are. You're sent to I feel like random locations in that area.
Yeah.
With random events. And then you can enter combat, which is turn-based.
Yeah.
Sort of a queue system, so you have a limited amount of time and you can queue actions that use up different amounts of time. pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot more functional than I expected it to be. And also the fact that you have so many actions. So
Yep.
I'm sure that you have offensive actions. You spend time to find improvised weapons. You can do defensive actions like brace or dodge, depending on your stats, what fits the most. And then you could also do things like do rituals like bow and clap, that you actually have to cue the bows and claps in right order and everything. And then you could get spells that often can be powerful and have nice effects, but then you spend stamina and sanity to use it. There was so many options there, so I feel like if you really grind this out and get really good at it, you can probably do an optimized one where you just you just cue everything perfectly and you just blaze through.
Yeah, I still think it's gonna be hard because it seemed pretty hard. There's like no healing options. You
Very
have
limited,
to sort
at
of
least, yeah.
trade 2 sanity for 1 health, or vice versa.
Yeah, at least for the ones we had.
Because
And
we
we were
had
also
0
bankrupt,
funds
so-
because we got robbed. So yeah.
Oh man, I mean, we had such terrible luck. But there's also difficulties and stuff. We played on the standard one, and even so, the first scenario went okay. We did it a second try, but that was more like a very short, teach you the ropes kind of adventure that I feel, has a very set pattern. You have to do it in order to complete it. And then the second one, the second case scenario was much more open-ended, where you were this different character with different stats, and then you had to investigate like 5 cases.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of working against the clock because there's like this doom percentage meter, so that because you're trying to prevent or like do all these cases before an elder god awakens. So in a lot of ways, this also reminds me of those Cthulhu-based board games. A lot of the rules are similar here.
Yeah.
It's both the ticking time bomb thing, and then also the sanity and health you have to juggle, and investigation, looking for clues, and then finding events that are both combat and just like these story events that can either tank your sanity or give you something. If you choose the right option, then you get rewarded. Other times you can resolve events differently if you've managed to acquire some kind of perks. So there's a lot of there's a lot of nice and creative moments in here, but also a ton of replayability, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And there was like 2 more scenarios after the ones we tried?
I think there was one more, and then the 4th one was some sort of free play.
Yeah,
But
randomized.
I got the impression it is early access,
It is, yeah.
because it seemed like they were like working on it in the menu. So yeah, I thought that the second thing we played, sort of more open one, was a lot more enjoyable. But I think we should maybe have played the first one a couple more times. But we did
Yeah.
fairly well, I think.
Yeah, we managed to win on the first one.
Yeah.
Second one, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, we sold 2 cases. We ended
Right, out of
up in the mental hospital 3 times, I think.
Last time and last time was just like, oh, you were put in a mental hospital, but the horror doesn't stop there. So then you just see like these tentacles crawling in from under the door, and you're obviously doomed.
Yeah.
Very nice. And also, but there were so many nice things about this, like the presentation. Everything is black and white, like 2-bit. But the artwork still really, really sold it for me, because they also have this Junji Ito kind of art style, especially for the monsters.
Yeah, the artwork is really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm sort of blown away from it, because a lot of the monsters are so insanely detailed
Yeah.
and actually frightening.
Yeah, they were pretty disturbing at times. And other times you got these things that were just like unexplainable. Like how in the school one, when suddenly you're just like supposed to find one of these quest items, and you learn from a clue that it's in the pool, and you go into the pool, and then this bloated teacher just attacks you, and then he what was it he did? He jammed the rancid meat into your mouth.
Yeah.
And then that was one of his special attacks, and then then you got the bloated perk.
Yeah, the status effect.
Yeah. And then the other one was like, I don't remember how we got this, but for some reason we started having holes appear on our body.
Yeah, we got bit by spiders from sticking our hand into places.
Right,
Twice.
which we didn't choose, by the way. we just chose to explore a forest, and then suddenly it's like, oh, you shouldn't have put your hand in that hole. A giant spider came out and bit your hand.
And then,
hope it doesn't turn into something poisonous.
And then you tried to treat it without any medical supplies, and you just got like intense bleeding or something.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
I mean, and also there's a lot of like these environmental nuggets as well that don't actually. I mean, you have the set things that you can do, like explore the different places, and then, but suddenly you get these extra options. Like for example, how you can interact with the background. Normally you just have this panel you press, but then suddenly you could just you could open the door because we were in a classroom. And then you could slide open the door to peek outside in the hallway. And as soon as you did, you just saw this like crazy face coming in from the side, and it immediately slammed the door shut. So, there was a lot of these really interesting things. And if you, in the second one where your hub is basically your apartment where you can take a bath to, that's not, we didn't learn that until way too late.
Yeah, at the brink of insanity.
Exactly, and then you also have the option to peek through the peeking hole in the door. And of course, if it's a horror game, you never should do that. So what you do, you just see like this hallway with apartments, and then you just see this weird face sticking out like sideways from one of the doors, and he's just like slowly fading into the door.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at pictures here, and there's more stuff that can happen when peeking through. I see. I'm glad we didn't have this other one.
Okay. See, this is the kind of things I love about this game. It has so many like small hidden things for people that are detail oriented and that, you know, want to explore it.
Yeah.
And you know, and other times you just get this. One thing is the scissor lady, the boss of the first encounter. She was very Junji Ito, very creepy.
Yeah, with the fucking 3 heads vertically attached with one big mouth.
Yeah, exactly. And with the giant scissors, kind of like a take on Hashaku-sama. And then, but I think this one was a lot more disturbing than normal Hashaku-sama.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, if it's like horror anime and stuff, what they typically do, apart from Junji Ito of course, is that they still tend to make ghosts and apparitions kind of like, especially if it's women, they somehow make them like not that ugly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, for horror, they're like too pretty to be disturbing. This is not the case here. They just went full Junji Ito and made disturbing, you know, very disturbing artwork, and I love that. And then, like, also leading into the more Lovecraftian things, like suddenly one of the combat encounters just tells you that, everything slows down to a crawl, and then suddenly you just see this, you're just fighting this guy in a suit with like blurred eyes, and he's just called Time Warper.
Yeah.
And he just steals your lifespan.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I mean, how are you supposed to fight that realistically? Well, it turns out with a broken bottle, you just stab him to death.
Yeah. I think if you play through the second scenario, I think you're pretty likely to have 100% Doom, because when we had done 2 out of 5 scenarios, we hadn't fucked around that much. We were at 50%
Well,
Doom.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I spent a very large amount of time trading Doom meter for spells in the library.
Yeah, that's
So
true. That's true.
there's a lot of small things there that I think you can shave off. And then I ended up using those spells like once, and then it damaged me way more than I thought it would, that I remembered from the description.
Yeah, but we clutched out the boss fight. I mean, they were pretty OP.
That's true. And of course, you know, that's sort of like eldritch, what do you call it, like almost like warlock type of forbidden magic, forbidden knowledge kind of thing. I always love that. Oh man, yeah, this is one of those games I really want to play more.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna sit down with it more.
Same.
And and also like the music as well. First, like when you have the intro and everything, and the menu screen or like the splash screen, there's like this sort of chipper and like upbeat kind of SNES style music, and you thought that this is a bit of an odd tone to set for the game at first, but as soon as you press start, or like you go to the menu, the screen where you choose, then the menu, like the music just changes. It just slows down to like this almost a little bit too slow to be normal kind of pace, and the whole tone just shifts immediately. The sound design of this was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, everything here is really a complete package for what it offers and what it tries to be.
Yeah, dude, I mean, just the fact that you have so much customizability as well for the adventure, like how once you do the scenarios, that's one thing, because you have to, I think you have to be the specific character meant for that scenario. But what if you do the randomizer? Where you just choose completely on your own, you choose characters, and you can randomize a lot of things way more, and you can probably turn into like horrifically difficult modifiers.
Yeah.
But also, I think, you know, just having that in there can already keep players engaged for quite a while, you know, and especially I think updates take a while with this game, understandably so.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he has added things like that is already, you know, it's already good for an early access title. And the game is pretty cheap as well. I think it costs below $10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's 103 crowns, so yeah, it should be around there. But do you think that's worth it at its price?
Yeah, I do. The only thing I want to say is don't just blindly trust us and buy this game. Make sure this is something up your alley, because it is pretty niche.
Yeah, that is true. And I also want to say, even though when you look at the screenshots and stuff, the heads-up display seems very busy and very cluttered, but it's not as bad as you think it is.
No.
So it's actually, when you start and you do the tutorial actually is very effective at getting you into it fast, and you know, getting the hang of the flow and the gameplay mechanics itself wasn't too bad. But the difficulty comes rather from everything that happens to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, but still, if you think this might be up your alley, I say go for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of those like Cthulhu or Call of Cthulhu board games, or like Arkham Horror that we've played before and stuff like that, this is definitely up there. It's very similar to that in gameplay.
Yeah, I think if you're one of those who stumbled over Doki Doki Literature Club,
Yeah.
this might be something you could move on to.
I still to this day haven't played that. I've just heard a lot of things about it.
Yeah, I've watched a Let's Play.
Yeah.
What a fucking game! We should play it
Yeah.
sometime.
Okay. I mean, sounds good. I mean, that game is like one of those common to have as you know, people that are not that into anime and stuff, or like haven't played a lot of those type of games. They usually have these like YouTuber reacts to Doki Doki Literature Club videos and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have anything else you want to add about World of Heart?
Not much else than shoutouts to the creator. You've done something amazing here.
Keep up the good work and at your own pace, of course. Don't tire yourself out. But this is a gem for sure.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, do you want to move on to the next game on the list?
Yeah, let's go.
The next one is Madison. Came out fairly recently on both Steam and console. I know it's on Xbox. I'm not sure if it's on PlayStation as well. I would assume so. And this game is more of a traditional, like modern horror game where it's not a walking simulator per se. There's a lot of interactivity here too. But it definitely takes, this is like post-PT kind of horror. So you walk through narrow hallways, you have like a limited space you can explore with different rooms, but whenever you do like a small thing, so trigger something or find something else is gonna change somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then of course you slow crawl through these very spooky rooms and hallways where there was not that many jump scares from what we played, but it was certainly...
That's because you walked backwards.
That's true. It's the Steph's certified how to play horror alone without getting a heart attack strategy.
I mean, probably the thing that scared us the most was when your dog barked outside the door.
That's true. We were sitting there like super expecting there to be, because the longer it takes between each jump scare, the tension builds. And I think we were probably at peak tension. I had walked backwards through many corridors and we heard horrible events unfold behind us, but then they were gone when we turned. And then we were like, yeah, that's nice. Then my dog, who has a famously crazy high-pitched voice, just barked outside the door, and we just like, oh fuck. Couldn't turn backwards from that.
No.
But yeah, so this game kind of, if you've played Visage or Visage, I don't know how to, I'm not a native English speaker, but that game, if you played that, this is fairly similar to it. Maybe a little bit more intense at times.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like it almost played on our expectations for jump scares, but it never really delivered that many.
At least, yeah, not at least in the time that we played. We played like the first couple of hours. But I think we still got a pretty good feel for the game.
Yeah.
And it was pretty puzzle heavy as well. Something, of course, which we get stumped on every time. So that's gonna inflate the game time. I'm pretty sure I've seen people say that this game takes about 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
I'm sure, but with my puzzle skills, it's gonna take like 15.
Yeah, but when they like mid-game just decide you have to suddenly hold the item change button, it's kind of on them,
Yeah, there is an amount of lack of polish in some places. Not a lot, but there were some places here that you might even see it in the footage, because there's this area where the character is having some kind of a vision almost, or is being lured into one. So you're down in like a basement that's flooded. Yeah, you're standing between 4 pillars. There's this police tape that boxes you in. And then you have this radio, or like walkie-talkie, that you have to like look around to find the best signal, so that you can hear. There's like some constant chatter, and as soon as you get like the strongest possible signal, you're supposed to bring up your camera and just take a photo into the dark in that direction. Normally, you just press normally, like if you press right mouse button, the camera comes up almost immediately. But in that instance, for some reason, it took like maybe a second and a half of holding it down before he takes it up. And I got stumped there for so long because I thought, like, what am I supposed to do? Is there's like this pixel perfect place you have to aim to get the signal right? And then it turns out it literally was just right now you have to hold the button a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But you know, small things like that. It wasn't any game-breaking thing though.
No. So, what's your thoughts on the game? What we played?
Well, I think I jumped from the game once.
Yeah.
Which was in that same area actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but other than that, I thought the atmosphere was pretty oppressing, and there were some very interesting things like how you have to use the camera to trigger certain events.
Yeah.
And there being collectibles was also nice, like hidden collectibles.
Mm-hmm.
Graphics were good, and I thought they did a pretty good job in making it creepy. A lot of the pictures there and the background, the sound design especially was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we didn't use headphones, so we didn't have the full surround sound experience that I think enhances this even further. They even say so in the menu, but I think just the speaker we used already made it very clear that they have great sound design. Always kind of these background noises that it doesn't sound like background noise, it sounds like something actually happened or something is in the hallway with you.
Yeah, it felt a bit too much at times.
Maybe,
we were just walking around, like, fucking about, trying to figure out what to do, and like every 10 seconds a door would creak or something would fall.
Yeah. That's true.
Just
but also,
use moderation sometimes,
Yeah, that's true, that's a fair point. But for what it's worth, the sounds that were there were pretty creepy because I thought for the time that, did we trigger some kind of creature that spawned or something, because the sounds were very, there with you.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think also that a little bit of moderation, tone it down by like 20% should be good. That's it. Still. Other than that, I think I like Visage more.
Mm-hmm.
Because Visage had more. Visage is very PT, especially the first part of it. But in Visage, I was more engaged with the story, and I think they paced out the jump scares and like the horrifying event a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I was definitely more afraid and like anxious to turn the corner in Visage than I was in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, but this is still an early impressions review of this game though. So.
Yeah, I felt like when we stopped playing, that was sort of when it started to get traction. Things started to ramp up. I thought the voice acting of the main character threw me off a bit.
Yeah, I did.
The other ones was good.
Yeah.
But like in general, for me, it was a bit run-of-the-mill of these. We've played a fair amount of these games now.
Yeah.
So they were like good and like mediocre stuff. I think we had a good time though.
Yeah. It's for what we played, it's solid. Among these games. If you want another one, if you really want another one of these type of games, this one is a good choice, I think. And especially, I guess, if this is the first type of game of this type that you want to get into, then maybe starting with Visage is better.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Visage is cheaper as well because I think this game costs like. On PC, this costs $25, which is fair, I guess, but on console, it's $40 or something, which is that's not worth it. But Visage, at the moment of speaking, is the same price, which renders my point moot. But if you have to choose one of them and you have $25 you're willing to spend on this, I guess I would go for Visage.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, the overall quality seemed a little bit better on that one. And I also think you can turn off the narration from the main character, because they also, there was like a hint or something, like a tip that said you can opt to turn off the commentary by the main character, and you'll still see the subtitles, so you get to see what he says. So maybe they're aware that his voice acting is a little bit annoying, and like with the sound effects, I think he commented maybe a little bit too often. And it sounded like a Swedish guy.
Yeah.
Speaking English. I don't know if Bloodiest Games that made this, are they Swedish?
Not sure.
I'm gonna find out real quick. Bloodiest Games. It doesn't say.
No.
I guess. Oh well.
Maybe it's someone in the studio that it does his voice, because I think the policewoman and the guy on the tape did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the tape with the like a priest or something.
Yeah.
Or some kind of exorcist.
Yeah.
That was dope. That was really atmospheric. And very creepy. Of ramping up tension. I thought that was really nice.
Yeah.
I agree. And the guy in the beginning, the very, very first place you start, where there's this guy outside the door of the apartment who's knocking, and apparently your character has committed murder, and then this, the guy outside there, he's knocking and just like exasperated and desperate and frantic, saying that you destroyed the family and all that kind of stuff, and then he breaks down crying. But the crying almost sounds as if it, teeters onto laughter a little bit as well, which I thought was, I don't know if it was intentional, but it sounded a little bit creepy.
I think it was, because it's at the very end of his monologue. As he sort of stops pestering you and just leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, there are certainly good parts about this game. So I think it is worth it, but I do still think that Visage is one step better.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. Would you say this game is worth it at its price?
If I were to play it alone, no. For what we did with it, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. It's worth $25 for sure, I'd say. But yeah, still doesn't beat the best walking investigation horror of all time, in our opinion, or at least my opinion, with the intro part of Call of Cthulhu, the Dark Corners of the Earth.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for something to fill, or like to meet that same, to scratch that itch, of just like extreme atmosphere building and just, yeah. Of course, the game turns very different later on, but especially the beginning part of that is just, magical. So if you guys know any game that made you feel the same way, or like that is similar to it in quality, and then please let us know, because those kind of games I'm always open for.
Yeah. Need more.
Yeah, I think Lovecraftian games have had a bit of a spotty history, especially those that directly adapt it. So it's even worse than 40K, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like 40K is starting to get good, but Lovecraftian games, well, Lovecraftian games itself can have some good ones. Like Bloodborne is a great example, perfect game for that. But then you have stuff like the game that is called Call of Cthulhu, which was okay. we played that, right? The one with the investigation, where you had different endings and stuff.
Yeah.
A little rough around the edges, but you know, it was okay.
Yeah.
The ending was when you actually got the ending that summoned Cthulhu was, I thought, was pretty dope. But yeah, and otherwise, Sinking City was okay as well. Had some good parts, but otherwise a little bit too rough around the edges.
That fucking game, it presented itself like almost AAA.
Yeah,
I felt, and did not deliver at that level.
It did not. I've heard there were some issues about the publisher screwing the developers over. There was a pretty significant debacle about that, and I think what happened eventually was that they got to re-release the game, because I think the publisher stole all the revenue and didn't pay the developers what they were owed and stuff like that. That was a lot of bullshit. I don't remember exactly right now, but it was fairly bad. So they re-released it. They managed to get the rights back, I think, and then they re-released it in some kind of definitive edition or something. And if you buy that one, it supports the developers directly. But yeah, I really wish there were more games that really nailed this type of, or like Lovecraft directly. Maybe the Sinking City too. If that ever comes out, maybe that is gonna be a better option.
Yeah. I think the creators of the BioShock games, I think they could do a good Lovecrafting game.
Yeah, that's true. First one already has the environment.
And the sort of gritty art style on people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Nice gunplay and.
Yeah, and interesting powers and stuff as well. Imagine if you switched out the, what was it called, plasmids?
Yeah.
If you switched them out for like eldritch gifts or something instead, that you could sacrifice something in order to, you know, be enhanced, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think there are already games that have that sort of those sort of mechanics going for them.
Yeah, seems like it's hard to get funding, I think.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But Forgive Me, Father is actually one of the games I was thinking about in the background that did this fairly well. That's actually a Lovecrafting game that I really enjoyed. Which it's more of like what do you call it? Like a you know, those old school type
Basically a Doom. Old school
Doom clone.
Yeah.
And of course, these have had a resurgence the past, I don't know, 10 years at this point, maybe 6, 7. And a lot of them are really good because they just take that formula and just make it butter smooth, and then just add a lot of interesting mechanics and set them in interesting settings. And Forgive Me, Father really nailed that for me. And in this game as well, you can actually choose to upgrade your weapons in different paths. So you can choose to upgrade them in traditional sense with more attachments, or you can just like infuse them with dark powers and stuff, so they grow tentacles and look sinister, almost becoming alive for wildly different types of behavior from the weapon.
Yeah.
And in that one, you also fight a lot of different elder gods as boss fights. Yeah, that's a great example of like one of those not so famous, I guess, Lovecrafting games. Also a hidden gem with really nice art style. So that one I also highly recommend. But yeah, I guess that's. You have something to add, or should we wrap it?
There was a thought I wanted to ask you before we go. You remember the Fear games?
Yeah.
You think we'll ever see them return?
Oh, that's.
They were pretty good, at least the first one.
First one was amazing. One of my favorite shooters of all time.
Yeah.
Actually.
Can you imagine the Series X PS5 Fear?
I would love to see it.
I would
if
too.
I played all three. They continued to decline in quality. First one was amazing. Expansion packs were, well, I mean, so were all right. So yeah, that game is definitely worth checking out. Anyway, I guess that's it for this episode. And if you feel like it, let us know what you think about this new format. Is it something that works for you? And otherwise, thanks for listening. Don't buy cars with microtransactions. And and stay human.
Stay dank.